Welcome to Camper Van Conversion in bite-sized chunks. If you happen to have come across this page through some random link, you might want to click on the link in the top right hand corner to take you back to the introduction to tell you a little bit more about these videos and how you can get the best out of them.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the lockers and the cupboards I've built in the van. Basically it's only woodwork, so it should be quite easy compared to some of the other stuff in the project, and it is. The only thing is this furniture board, these furniture boards, commonly known as Conti board or melamine, depending what you get. It's expensive stuff, and it does. I found it tended to chip easy until I found ways of cutting it. So I'm going to show you some tips on things that I discovered to make it easier to cut without chipping. And also getting the edging tape on. Now I think one of the companies does some tutorials, and it's worth looking at that because they're the professionals, but I just couldn't get on with how they did it. Clearly they've been doing it over and over again, and for me, well, I need to find my own way, and so that's what I'm just going to share. You might be able to do fine with what they're showing on their websites. So it's worth having a look at this because that stuff is expensive, and you can't afford to cock up too many bits. Now the sizes, if you get your stuff from B&Q, it's 19mm, and I got most of my stuff from B&Q because it's local. The only thing is that the fittings that you buy, for example, the flush catches and hinges, they're all designed for 15mm, and it's Wicks that sell the 15mm furniture board, and I really would say don't go down a 19mm route. You don't need it, it's heavier anyway, but the Wicks one is the one that will fit the fittings that are designed for motorhomes. So for example, you'll see in a minute on the video the catches that go flush and so they don't stick out, they're all designed for 15. So on that one, before I get into the bits and bobs in the workshop, we'll just take a 6-second whiz around my van, and so you can see some of the work I've done with this furniture board. You've got the aircraft lockers, a couple of cupboards, and I've done my whole shower cubicle, the outer, from this stuff as well. So a quick look at that, and then we'll get into the tips that hopefully might make things a little less expensive for you in poor cuts.
So the big one over the cab is what we use for putting clothes in. We've got some bins that pre-pack and just chuck in there when we go out. You might have noticed as I opened it up, it's light inside. I've got micro switches on all the lockers, overhead lockers, with LEDs that light up so you can see what you're doing as you open them up. Moving around there, more furniture board faced lockers, aircraft lockers. Those ones are over the sofa, quite shallow because you don't want to be hitting your head as you get up, and go around the corner again. I've got one where I hide all the electrics, the isolators, controllers for the solar panel, etc. Mounted on the outer for the shower and loo. The inside is obviously a waterproof membrane, but this furniture board is used on the outside to give it that consistent feel. Into the kitchen, I've got aircraft lockers for plates, food, etc. Covered under the sink. On the right there, the housing for the cooker. As we zoom out, you might just see on the right the fridge. That's in that housing is again furniture board, and out again you've got a half-height wardrobe, again made out of furniture board, and the front for the bedding locker under the sofa, all out of furniture board. So a lot of stuff, quite expensive. You don't want to be chipping it. I chipped a fair bit, and I'm hoping some of these tips will give you better cuts than I did. So kicking off then on the circular saw, this little handheld one. What you need to do, I found, was to make sure that the best face, either one you're most likely to see, is the one that is looking up, because the blade rotates forward and cuts into it, so it's the back end that's most likely to chip. The masking tape does two things. It stops you scratching the surface with the sole plate of the saw, and also it does actually help stop chipping as well. In fact, there's a third thing. I used it for marking out. So handheld circular saw is pretty good. I just found just take it nice and slow, so you've got a lot of cuts, rotations per centimetre you move forward, and if you need to do stuff off of the table saw, that's the best thing to do. Sometimes you will need to use a jigsaw though for going around corners, that sort of thing. I use a metal blade, you can see it there, and try to avoid it, but that's what I did use. The best thing I found was a table saw. Now here's my dad's table saw here. Interesting this. What's wrong with that scene? Well, apart from the guard's been taken off, so you can see, I hear you screaming at the video, the blade set too high. The text looks to say the base of your teeth just protrudes above the wood, that's set too high, but actually I generally got a better cut like that. I tried it on my dad's kit and my kit. Neither of it's expensive, it might be because it's quite cheap stuff. He's got a Clark cutting bench, so I've got a Fern. But I found it's real, so you want to have a play with that. And what I'm about to do, I think, is to show you the results of an experiment I've done when I was getting lots of chipping. So here is 2 sample cuts. One is done as you're supposed to do it, which is the bottom one, i.e. the blade set correctly. And the top cut is the blade set too high, according to the textbooks. You can see that's the nice clean cut. You know, I don't really know why that is, but it's real. You might want to try it out. It might be because I say, you know, my kit's not particularly brilliant, but that's generally how I got a better cut. Okay then, so edging the tape, the cut edges. Basically what you use is it's a stick-on tape, and you iron it on. It's got a hot melt glue on the edge of it, and you iron it on. Now this is where I've done it very different to how the pros do it in their videos. I couldn't get on with that way of doing it at all. They put a piece of brown paper between the tape and the iron to protect the tape, but I couldn't see what I was doing when I did that, so I did it this way. Here's a little bracket, shelf support bracket I'm going to edge. So I cut the tape just over size, and the tape is wider than the Conti board itself. So what I did is the edge that I was most likely to see, I basically put the edging tape clean on that edge, and I used my sort of thumbs and fingers just to feel that, there you go, just to feel that it's just about perfectly fitted there, and it's overhanging on the other side. You can't see that. And then I tag it with the iron, and I did burn my fingers a couple of times, but not to worry about that. I got 10 of them. And then what I did is when I was ironing, I just kept the thing moving all the time, and you know what, I never got any burn damage at all to the tape. Why, I don't know, but that's what I did. Bring it all the way along, just keep it moving, and I'm feeling with my finger that tape is right on the edge of the corner, and it's overhanging on the other side. Look at that. I don't do such a good job of my shirts as I'm doing there. And just keep it moving, and just so that glue gradually melts and sinks into the grain. And then before I do any trimming, I would let it cool down. Here you go, final little iron there. Yeah, let it cool down so the glue hardens up before you try cutting it and sanding it. So cutting and sanding, basically it's a sharp Stanley knife, and you're going to be cutting off that edge that's overhanging on the other side. Let's finish off the ironing. Okay, perfect. So yeah, sharp Stanley knife, slightly about 5 degrees off vertical. There you go, just slash it straight way down. Keep changing those blades, that's what I found. Yeah, I didn't skimp on blades, and just slice it off, trim the edges up, and basically you've just got a very slight burr on there now, which you've got to tidy up. And we'll just trim that one down, I think. Yeah, I just found various ways to do it. You will not see this, the pros do it like this. They just kind of, in 3 seconds it's all done and dusted. They just seem to be very good at that. And then what I did is initially I used a metal file, a very fine metal file, to take the burr off, and I found the metal file was good because it was flat and firm. It gave me a nice sort of clean edge, and I'd just after that just run a bit of sandpaper down the edge, down the corner as well. So that's how I did it. Have a play. Definitely go onto those professional websites, and there you go. That's the joint there. So it looks pretty good. And you know, I found that once I'd done a few that they were coming out pretty good. Unfortunately, you do get chips now and again. So I'm going to just put some on that big panel there, exactly the same way. I'm just feeling the edge of the tape with my fingers and thumbs, so it's clean on the edge that I'm going to most likely see. So the surplus is overhanging on the other side. I think when I looked at the video on the Conti board website, they're actually having the overhang equally on both sides and trimming it both sides, but you know, that's the way I did it. You have a go. So yeah, same thing. Just keep that iron moving, and you won't get any. Well, I certainly didn't get any burn damage at all. But when I tried to put brown paper between the iron and the job, I just couldn't see what I was doing. But you know, you maybe get it on. So there you go. You can see the overhang there. It's predominantly on one side, a little bit on the other side. Trim it off, sharp Stanley knife, and then just slice it all the way down. Ooh, it's difficult to get going sometimes. And once it's there, she goes. Nope, not quite. Oh, there she goes. Oh, she goes all the way down, and tie it up at the other end. So then I put sharp file sort of to give it a good deburr, and I said a bit of I've done that, a bit of sandpaper, I think, just on the edge there. Set the angle of the block at 45 degrees, and your jobs are good. The odd little chip, wood filler was the answer, and yeah, worth having a bit of practice to get that right before you go for good. So I hope these tips have helped a bit, and don't forget to have a look at the companion one to this clip about tips on how to set hinges. If you're not good at doing that, hopefully this will help.
Lockers. Nothing much to say about this. You know, and you probably worked this out by seeing some of the stuff. I'm not the best of craftsmen in terms of cabinet making, but I can find ways of making designs work for the camper van sort of scenario. So happy with the lockers. I wanted that light sort of melamine look to make it open up. And I spent a long time sort of getting the joints right, so it's a nice clean gap, that sort of thing, which is great. But of course, once you start driving and using this thing, it's jumping around, it's moving, it's twisting, the body's moving, the joints have come a little bit amiss. Some of them I'm putting up with, some of them I'm just actually now going to start resetting 5 years on. So I don't know what you can do about that. You know, some people use really big heavy material which may be a bit stronger, but I wanted to keep weight sort of sensible. But apart from that, that's all I can say about lockers is expect the joints to move as you campaign your van.